Hello everyone, welcome to Just Make Game Live!
Good morning!
I hope you're all very well. I'm very tired, and I've got a coffee. This seems to be a continuing thing, so...
Who knows why we decided to do live streams at 8 a.m. our time, but there you go.
But it's all good. Today we're going to be doing some character sprites. Well, that's what I'm going to be doing. Haley's doing the same thing as well, actually. I'm probably also going to do some sound later if we get around to it, much like last time. If it does happen, it'll happen towards the sort of second half of the stream, but I might just sit here doing sprites as well because it's kind of nice. It's basically just colouring in.
Yeah, it's very soothing to do the sprites.
Because we've already done the base character sprites, the actual sort of base layer, the character sprites are done. So yes, you can hear Haley.
Hello!
And, yeah, it's basically just putting the different clothing layers on for other characters. So, yeah, anyway, we should probably get in on it, I guess. So. What black magic is this? It's a second microphone. It's a very average microphone, but it does the job okay.
And it's got a blue bit on the end of it, and blue's my favourite colour.
So it's win-win. Alright, let's go to Pixelator. Where are we? There we go. Hello everyone, how you all doing? Quite excited to watch and work on stuff. Yes, I think we're very much a background thing for a lot of people, which is good. That's my favourite sort of YouTube channels, are the ones that sort of sit in the background and while I get on with what I'm doing, so hopefully we serve the same sort of purpose. Alright, so what we got here is, these are, especially looking just at these ones down here, these ones here are our character sprites, our main character sprites. Now there might be a few more of these added later. And the crosses are through the ones that we've already done. Haley's already done here, so I'm just going to start jumping on this as well and working our way through some of these characters. I'm going to start with this fella here. It's called the Highwayman. They're all the same base body type, so we are just going to basically copy his clothes along and redraw them for each frame of animation that we've got for each sort of animation that we've got in there. So let me, if I haven't already, I cannot remember if I've copied him over or not, so let me just copy over his clothing to our main sprite, which is over here. Ta-da! And we've got all of these animations to do. So, for example, if I go down to the doctor, you can see that he's all filled in. So quite a few animations there for him. Ignore down here, but it basically comes to there. Is how many we're doing. And there's quite a few double up frames in here as well, though. I must admit, like, there are quite a few, especially in the attack frames for different weapon types. A lot of these frames are shared, so there's not as many as it appears. And things like the run cycles are flipped just for left and right. And the shading doesn't change or anything. We literally just flip them. Unlike Bannerman, for example, which was we'd reshade everything one side to another.
We thought about reshading things, but, like, yeah, we really kind of got stuck on that for a bit, and we were like, oh, we probably should, maybe we shouldn't. In the end, we just decided not to, because we have so many characters, and we didn't think it mattered that much. Like, if we change our minds, we can go back and reshade them.
Alright. Just making sure our stream is looking healthy here. There's no drop frames or anything. No, it looks like it's all good. Okay, no dramas. Okay. Alright, so let me get rid of him. Now we go across to the highwayman. And I'll get started. So I'll put the soldier on just for a bit of reference, but I'll turn his opacity down so he's kind of not really in the way. Just so I can sort of keep track of where heads and things are, because otherwise you just got this bit of a lump there. We do have it like that as well, which I don't know, I might use. I'm not too sure, so maybe I'll use them like that. Right, let's just start with this hat first of all. And for the most part, I should be able to hopefully copy this across. I'm going to have to make that feather wiggle.
That'll be fun.
That will be fun, actually. He's got the long coat as well, which is going to change quite a bit when he's running along and attacking and things. But let me just go ahead and chuck the hat on loosely first.
Working on this sprite sheet is one of the ones I'm always like, oh my god, am I on the right layer? Probably like once every 5 minutes.
So actually, he wears that hat quite low. He's got 1, 2, 3 for his head there. There we go. And I'm a bit too high before. Alright. It's actually quite nice doing this sort of thing because it's a pretty mindless sort of task. You're not thinking too much, so it's a nice thing to do sort of first thing in the morning, actually, I must admit. So what have we got here? Okay. We've got blue inside of the coat there. I'll do his sort of shoes first.
That's exactly what I do first, actually. Copy the hat, then do the shoes.
Do the shoes. Not there really is much of a shoe, it's more of a point. I'm really happy with how these sprites came out, actually. I think they're pretty cute. Let's make sure we're getting the right sort of shoe length there. No, we're actually going 3 on those old ones, okay.
Yeah, I found remembering the length of the shoes and the length of the hands. I kept forgetting like how many pixels they were. So I like to draw over the top of the soldier.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think I do change it quite a bit.
Yeah, they change every now and then.
Just having a look here. It's mostly 3, 2 there, 3, 3, okay. Just double check that again before I make a big mistake. Yeah, 3, 2, 3, 3, okay. Oh, I have not been checking the chat at all with this. What have we got? Demonetized. I don't think we actually have this monetized at all, to be honest. We just have super chats on here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a bit weird rolling an ad through a live stream, I feel. Kind of a bit strange.
I have to say hi to Carbs Code because they were here early.
Oh, really? Putting in the effort.
Yeah.
You're here last time as well, I believe.
Oh, awesome. And Jimmy Boy got excited because my microphone's here and it's blue.
Hello, Snake Lord and Repix Media. Repix. Hello.
And Sad Moody. Hello.
Okay, so we've got pants for him next. Yeah, so it doesn't take too long to do these characters, but I mean, it isn't instant either. It is a little bit fiddly. I keep having to flick back to our soldier to make sure I've got everything in the right spot. Got it marked on your calendar, wow.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Ah, that's right. The soldier's got puffy pants, so his pants are a slightly different shape.
Yeah, they come out a little bit at the bottom.
So, let me go ahead and make these ones not puffy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see these in game soon. That'll be awesome. I have a whole bunch of different characters running around.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. I've been looking at our main soldier sprite has been like the sole character in game for the longest time because hasn't really been worth do anything else to this point. We've had much more important things to do, but yeah, it's about time to actually to get them in. But yeah, it feels like it's been ages. Like, we did these initial sort of designs up from so long ago now.
That was probably one of the first things we did, really.
Yeah, it's like one of the first things we did that were like that actually came out sort of really well.
Yeah.
But then we just, that we just sort of went, okay, that's good. We'll keep that for later. And it's been, I mean, a long time now. It's been something like over 2 years, wouldn't it? Something like that, which is kind of depressing to think about.
19 months.
Yeah. Okay, now on our original fella here, he has a low collar. Okay. There's one there. Two there. There we go. Okay, and he's got 3 buttons at the front, which is going to be, I know, increasingly hard to fit in because he's mid-run. That was a problem you kept coming into, wasn't it, with length for him, yeah.
Because their bodies kind of stretch and shrink as they move.
Yeah, they've got a lot of sort of like squash and stretch to them, so they're not sort of just same size every time. So especially with the roll, like he really compresses up sort of midair and then stretches out.
Which is good because it makes the animations look more impactful.
It does. It also makes it a bit harder to do things like this, but I find it just means you have to, I don't know, try not to stay sort of on model as much. So he's got shading top left. Is everything else top left? Yes, but he also has a lighter colour, almost like the lining of his coat, so I have to remember to keep that in as well.
Thanks, Repix Media. That's very nice of you.
Alright. A slightly different colour there. Midnight here in India, but making you work, making you want to do it. Oh, I'm sorry it's midnight there. We've tried to pick some okay times for people around the world, but it doesn't always work out, so a bit sorry about that. There we go, it's not too bad. It's a little bit wonky, but it's not bad for a first frame for him.
Looks good.
Only a million more to go. No, it's
Yay!
alright. Once you do the first one, you kind of becomes a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, you kind of get into the swing of doing it.
Okay, let me just make sure I've actually got everything running on stream that I should. Music's going, is it? Yes, very good. Okay, all that colours on there. Yeah, probably not actually. No highlights on that leg. Okay. Just gotta make sure I stay consistent with what we do on each frame. Okay. And he's going to lose a button there, but that's okay because he's sort of squashing down as he's changing feet here, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. It's weird going from the sort of animations that we had in Bannerman, especially to something like this, where this one's got a lot more sort of squash and stretch, whereas Bannerman, because it was rotoscope, is just, you know, absolutely sort of perfectly rigid throughout the entire thing, so this is a little bit more crazy.
Do you remember how big your sprites were in Batman?
64 by 64. Too big. Really.
So our sprites here are 32 by 32.
I prefer working at this sort of resolution, I must admit. I think it's a bit better. I like sort of vague sprites where you can't really tell what something is. You got a pixel and you're like, I think that's a belt buckle. Can't really tell. Okay, and let's see if I can make this coat not look terrible. It's so interesting with a long coat like that. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that.
Sorry, I might have done all the easy sprites first already.
Oh yeah, I now see why this one was left. Yeah, so Haley's been doing these ones until now, basically, and I'm just sort of jumping on so that we get, just kind of so we get these guys in, and it'd be good to build them in pretty quick, because the way that the engine sort of picks up these sprites is basically just looks for what character class you are, and it just goes bang, cool, okay, that's your sprite, done. So in code-wise, there's very little to put them in. And then, I mean, apart from making, you know, a select character screen sort of thing, which will be next. But yeah, it'd be good to sort of get this ticked off the list of things to do. That's pretty terrible. That'll have to do for the moment, I think. And then lighter leg. Sorry if I'm not super talkative yet. My coffee hasn't really kicked in. I'm sort of still in wake-up mode. So I apologise if I don't have any amazing insight right now. But I'll get there.
I ran out of coffee already. I'll have to go and make another one in a minute.
Yeah. It'll probably be a very quick make coffee break in just a bit. Even though I've only been going for like 20 minutes now, but...
This is what happens if you stream at 8 a.m.
Yeah, I know. I'd much rather prefer that we were streaming sort of in the like afternoon or evening even, but it just, time zone wise, it just doesn't work out. For a lot of people watching, that would be a pretty terrible hour, to be honest, so... But that's okay. I know it still doesn't end up working out particularly well because we've got people watching at midnight and things like that, so... Blame Australia.
We'll have to move to a better time zone. Somewhere warm, because I'm sick of winter. Some of these sprites get very confusing very fast because the colour of his arm there is the same colour as the jacket that some of you might have noticed. So there isn't actually a distinction between that sort of forearm and the actual jacket colour. But in motion it tends to work. New Zealand is nicer. You know, I've never actually been to New Zealand, even though it's just over there. It's on lovely. Our list of places we want to go, definitely.
It does look lovely.
Looks so nice.
Better in every way. Oh, okay, fair enough. Try to make that coat go behind that front leg. It's very easy it would be to have his coat go over the front of both legs here, but that's going to look pretty weird, like he's wearing it really tightly done up or something. And then we've got that back colour in there to try to give it some depth, like it's actually behind him. That's not bad. So I'm probably likely going to have to do these frames sort of twice. So going through them and then going through and touching them up, especially things like the coat, to make sure that works over multiple frames. Because I want a good amount of flap.
Yeah, you kind of have to put everything in and then play it back and look at it and go back and tweak big bits.
Who's that there? Burka Games says hello, hello.
Hello.
Alright. I don't think the shading goes that far up on there. Not close. Okay. Like before, I'm just trying to keep shading consistent between everything. So that goes down. Yep. No worries. It's kind of hard to remember because like I said, we started this ages ago. So it's not fresh in your mind exactly how far the shading goes on a lot of these things. You just have to sit there and look back through it. Because you want it to stay pretty consistent, because otherwise it starts to look like 40 different people have done the sprites of these. There. And I should probably put his belt in before doing anything else. That's where the coat gets to really go down sort of full extension like that, so let me fill that in. Welcome back, Cubs Code. I don't like New Zealand because all the streams are starting at midnight for me. Yes, that'll be the same here in Australia as well.
Yeah.
It sucks. It does. We happen to be just on the sort of wrong side. You can make it line up for basically everywhere else in the world. So if you ignore Australia and New Zealand, if you go, I want to be at a reasonable hour in, UK and sort of most of Europe and most of the US, you can line both those up in a pretty decent spot. But for us, that ends up being, I think it's, 4 a.m. here or something like that.
Yeah,
I think we worked
like
out.
that,
So,
yeah.
so then it doesn't work for us. So, yeah, it sucks. It's just, time zones, eh? I just realised I did pillow shading all the way down here and he doesn't need that. Go away. There we go. So those little blue bits, I'm not even sure what these are, like a puffy collar? I cannot even remember.
Yeah, I think they're a bit of a collar.
I guess they're supposed to be pretty puffy, aren't they? Just probably go up like that. You think I'd be able to remember this sort of thing? Move that belt buckle. Let's see what that looks like over those frames so far. Yeah. It's missing shading on those two, because he's got that sort of jacket lining. So his shading's kind of in the wrong spot from what I'm used to. So let me quickly pop that in. You don't get to see too much of it there. Yeah, it's just difficult. Like yeah, it works out for we've got quite a few people I think that are watching now that are much in the same boat as you, where they've sort of just finished work or they're just about to finish work. Like our streaming time, unfortunately, makes it rather difficult for a lot of people in Australia to watch as well, because a lot of people at work, even though quite a few people I notice are watching at work, which is I've seen before.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you very much. I suppose something to do at work.
Yeah.
That's pretty good that you got a job where you can get away with watching a live stream at work.
Yeah.
Never really had many jobs like that, I must admit. Apart from this one, of course. Now, do you guys manage to keep a regular works schedule this time around? I remember your ones from Bannerman where you talked about that. Yes, that was huge. So this time around, I am so much better at going, work's done today, bye-bye, and then closing the door and that's it. and sort of, like, the problem with Bannerman is because over such a long period, like that was 2.5 years, I was doing a lot of working sort of weekends or days that should be off, but working on them regardless, and working through at night, and even going especially towards the end, there were a lot of I'd basically sit down in front of the computer to start my day, coffee in hand sort of thing, and then basically not move from there until it was dark. and then sort of going, oh, okay, it's time to eat dinner and stuff. I'd go and eat dinner, and then I'd go back in front of the computer and keep working, thinking that I was getting more done that way. And I think, because when you do that sort of thing, you kind of have, diminishing returns on it, and you spend a lot of time not really getting as much done as you think, and kind of just spending more time working than you should, and burning yourself out. I'm amazed I didn't totally burn myself out on Bannerman, but I managed to just get through it. I was definitely feeling it towards the end, though. You can see that in some of the old vids, actually. It's, yeah, by the end I'm starting to look pretty haggard. But yeah, we're really good about it this time around. Basically just going, no, that's it. Oh yeah, taking breaks is huge. You need to do it. I know, and it's part of the thing. You're doing it. You're working for yourself, and you're like, oh, I need to get this finished over the next, X number of months, 6 months, let's say. And it's like, oh, I want to get this done over the next 6 months. You feel like you can't take breaks, and that's a problem. You have to take breaks, and you have to take time off. Otherwise, you just can't. You can't work under those sorts of situations. It doesn't work like that. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the sprites are looking. Yeah, this fella's okay. His coat's a bit average, so I'll have to fix that. But he's looking alright.
Yeah, the Sprite I'm working on has got a coat as well. It's not as long as your coat, but
yeah,
they're hard.
Yeah, especially wondering what I should do here, because our guys do stretch so much. I'm like, do I really stretch the coat out and go across the back a little bit? And then have that darker colour all the way through to that leg. Have it riding down there. Or it might look weird if it's too long, so I'm going to have to play. Is Bannerman still making money? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's still selling. Still going. The most recent Steam sale, which I think, is that still going at the moment? I can't even remember. Let me check.
Just about finished.
Yeah, it's either just finished by the looks of it. Yeah, it did quite well in that, actually. Actually, there was an Australia Day sale a while back. The sort of first one that Steam has done from my memory. Bannerman was huge in that, I guess, just because it was only for ones from Australia, and that starts to really narrow the pool of, you know, games that are on sale, and like that was where I sold more copies than I'd have since release, basically, or in over a couple of day period, which was crazy. Problem with the big Steam sales is you often just get lost in amongst all the sort of the big name stuff that's also on discount. So I find you actually get better sales, not so much in the giant big Steam store-wide sort of sales, but just putting it on discount yourself in sort of off-peak times, I find sort of ends up working out better. But yep, still going. Oh, this is gonna look ridiculous. Oh, it might work. I don't know. Maybe.
I reckon that looks pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. It sort of works. I don't like this though. A bit there, so maybe I'll shorten the coat to. Oh no, it looks even worse. Let's just go like that again. And I've forgotten again the sort of lining that we've got on this, so let me put that on again. Been terrible with this so far. It's because most other characters don't have this sort of thing, so I've just been forgetting about it totally. It's also difficult to decide what I should do at points like this. Like, do I just go to the lining, for example, which starts to look kind of weird? Or do I ignore it? Or only put it in certain points like that? Yeah, just because I've got that, that lining there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what do you do in that situation? So I've gone without it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Working on my game while watching you work on your game. Yes, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm glad actually. Like, it's kind of the whole point of the channel, really. That's good. I like hearing so much about people that are like, oh, I've been watching your videos as I've been working on my game and things like that. Like, quite a few emails we end up getting from people. Yeah, it's good. So what else have we got on our sort of immediate to-do list, Haley? It's hard to keep track of what we're even doing these days.
We want to get those new level tiles done and get a second level
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, for those of you that watched last stream, I was sort of working on level tiles. We're still working on them. Sort of happy with how some of them came out, but some of them not so much. Yeah, apart from that, what else have we got? Level tiles, get these guys in. I've got the special abilities nearly all done, so they can get finished off soon. The actual god. No.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see him in game.
Yeah, he's nearly in, which is cool. These guys have got different shapes. Okay. In which case, I'll just do it like that. I got a question here. What do we got? Hey guys, I have a question which you probably get asked many, many times. What do you recommend for beginners? Do you mean just in terms of general, or coding, or art, or anything like that? Or is it just sort of games? if you're just talking generally about games and just like I want to make games but I don't know where to start, I would recommend picking up something, a sort of engine like Game Maker or Unity, and finding someone that you like on YouTube that does some decent tutorials for it, and then following along, and along the way learning to pick up a bit of code if you don't know how to code, and then learn how to do some art as well, either 2D or 3D, and sort of pick up bits as you go along. Start with something really small and simple, like, you know, make Pong sort of deal, and then sort of expand up from there as you go along. Like, I've made many crappy little games before, tons of them, ones I've even forgot that I've made, I'm sure, that sort of went nowhere. Modding is also a good place to start. I started with Quake modding originally. That's sort of where I come from. That's Quake 1. But modding is a good place to start as well. Not so much for the sort of... it's more like a general... like a general knowledge sort of thing. You get an idea how everything works if you're playing around in someone else's game, because chances are it's been made somewhat competently, and especially if it supports mods to some degree. I mean, and it doesn't break every time you try to put a mod in. It's a good place to start. You're sort of poking around in other people's stuff. Like, I learnt a lot poking around in Quake's code, because everything's all commented, and it's great just scrolling through that and seeing, you know, how certain problems were solved by Carmack back in the day, and then that influenced a lot of how I try to solve problems now as well.
I think too, if you're a beginner with your art, everyone can do art. You just need to practice. So lots of stuff you do to start with might be crappy, but you just have to keep going. Just keep going and keep practicing. It's the only way to get good at art. It bothers me when people say, yeah, I'm no good at that and I can't do it. You just have to practice. It's not a magical, secret, innate ability. Like, yes, some people are a bit better than others to start with, but if you practice enough, you'll get good.
Yeah, it's a big thing. A lot of people sort of talk about, like, you know, like, oh, natural talent. Oh, you're such a good artist, you're so talented. And it's like, anyone you're saying that to has spent so long working on their art. It's like saying someone's a really good musician. Oh, you're so talented. Yeah, you don't see them sitting there in their room playing guitar over and over again for hours and hours on end. So, and what do we got here? We got a lot of things. How's it working full time with your spouse? Do you guys take breaks from each other, or you just all up in each other 24/7 with no issues? Yeah, it's funny that, like, a lot of people ask this, and we have, like, no dramas at all with this, and everyone's sort of surprised by that. So I don't know. I guess we've just got, like, the best relationship ever or something.
We just get along.
Yeah, we get along. We always have. So, well, yeah, I don't know. It's weird, I guess. It doesn't, like, everyone else is like, oh, okay. But, yeah, I don't know. We've never had any problems with each other. I mean, if we did, we probably wouldn't be together anymore. So, but yeah, no dramas. Yeah, it works for us. Might not work for everyone. What do we got here? Unity is best for beginners. Unity for beginners is a mood. Tons of tutorial on Unity. Yeah, like, the reason I suggested Unity or Game Maker or things like that is because they're really accessible, because they have so many people making tutorials for them. So that's the problem with doing things like how I was mentioning modding. Like, if you want to go make Elder Scrolls mods or something like that. So say you want to, you know, start modding Skyrim right now. It's like, yes, there'll be some tutorials out there, but there's not going to be much compared to something like Unity or some sort of off-the-shelf deal like that. Or same if, you know, you're just going to start coding your own engine or something like that. Like, you're going to have a sort of rough initial time with it. So, yeah, that's why I suggest things like that, just because they are so popular, and they are pretty, you know, sort of easy to get around, and someone that does good tutorials on them can teach you how the sort of ins and outs pretty quick. And I think that when you're a beginner and you're coming from nowhere, amount of tutorials and amount of documentation and things like that, it doesn't always have to be video tutorials. I just mean, like, you know, any sort of documentation, really. Sort of guides on the net and things like that. I think they're the most important thing.
Yeah, like you need something you can type in how to make this happen and like kind of come up with an answer, whether it be like on a forum or like in a help document or.
Yeah, that's it. Like I've had problems before because, like I said, I was doing like a lot of Quake 1 stuff, and I used the Quake 1 engine to make my older games like Berserker Quest and Inner Woods and things like that. And I was very familiar with it at this point. Like I'd used it a lot previously, but I would come across sort of weird problems, right? So everything's got their own quirks to it, where certain things just don't work. So you have some sort of weird quirk, and you try to Google an answer, and there's a community of about 20 people that still use that engine, and you'd find no answer. So you'd actually ask them, and you get a bunch of, I don't know, I think it might be this, and it turns out they're totally wrong. And then you get someone going, it's definitely that. Yes, I've been using this forever. It's definitely that, and they're totally wrong. And then you have to try to figure out some workaround on your own. Whereas if you were using something like Game Maker or Unity or anything else that's got people actually using it, that problem would have probably been solved in about 15 minutes. And you'd be like, okay, done, fixed, see ya. Whereas for me, it was like weeks. Now that I think about it on some of those things. I'm just thinking about some of that now, and I'm just like, it's like, remember I was having problems drawing. It was like menu problems with Berserker Quest for like the longest time. Do you remember that at all?
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
I remember screaming at the computer a lot. What coding language do Skyrim use? I have no idea, to be honest. I've never done any poked around Skyrim at all. Yeah, it would be some sort of C derivative, I'm sure. Sure, they've got their own scripting language, I imagine, for making mods and things like that. I think, but I've never even touched it for modding, I must admit. What software we're looking at now? That's called Pixel Edit. It's a cheap pixel art sort of software, animation software. It's okay. There's lots of people prefer other things. I don't mind it. It's not as fully featured as some, but it is. I do like how simple it is and how it just tends to work most of the time. It does fall apart with certain things.
I think it's because it's so nice and simple. It was a really good thing for me to learn on, actually. Like I feel like if I jump to another pixel editing like software now that's maybe a bit more complicated, I'd probably like it because it was so easy for me to come to terms with this.
Yeah, that's it, because like Haley had done very little sort of pixel art before this, really. Like he kind of played around, but like not a huge amount. I mainly like it because it's kind of lightweight and doesn't have many things that sort of that aren't useless to me. So there's not many things sort of bloat in the way, and I like that it shares most of Photoshop's shortcuts, which I'm very, very familiar with. I'm amazed at how many of these other programs don't let you change shortcuts, or they use totally different things just off the bat. And I'm just like, just use Photoshop's ones. I'm like, they're kind of standard, but not for everyone. I mean, I come from sort of graphic design, so Photoshop shortcuts are burnt into my brain. Oh, hello, Eden. How are you?
Hello.
Edit those pixels. Yeah, I'm trying, buddy. Oh, what am I looking at here? Where does the arm start and end? There's the arm. I love how much he hunches up in this frame. It's like, looks ridiculous by itself, but it works in motion.
I love my favourite frame of the running animation is the one where he's like very much leaping through the air.
That one there.
That one. Yep.
Yeah, I suppose you got to have one then the other, don't you? You got to go stretch and squash.
Is that weird to have a favourite frame of an animation?
Probably is. Probably means you need to take a break.
I keep doing that. Whenever I do an animation, I'm like, that's my favourite frame.
That's
there.
the best
I like
frame.
that. That's the best. Yeah.
What have I done here? Why is that there? What are you doing? I don't know. Put his belt buckle off to the side. Oh, these buttons. Remind me to never put like 3 buttons on ever again. It's just...
Yeah.
Just because of how much he squashes, it's like you got enough space for 3 when he's standing upright, but when he runs, he goes, and that's you don't.
Yeah,
it doesn't
you're
exist.
just like, where do I put these?
All right, how are these frames looking so far? You know what? They're looking all right, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It's still the same frame as that, isn't it? Yeah.
Really?
Other league.
Yeah.
What do we got? Do you use behavior trees for your AI? No. Sort of. Most of the AI is a bunch of A-star algorithm sort of pathfinding stuff, and then a lot of if-else statements on top of that. Like real classic fuzzy logic sort of stuff. Nothing too extraordinary, to be honest. Like nothing too fancy.
Hi, Tyler.
Hey Tyler, how you doing? A favorite frame's probably okay. What about a favorite pixel? yeah, we're not getting there yet.
Yeah, when I start picking out a favorite pixel, it'll definitely be time for a holiday, I think.
That'll be awesome to see your past works. Oh, you can see quite a few of them on Game Jolt.
Yeah, Game Jolt.
Believe it or not. If you look for Berserker Quest, it's actually Berserker Quest 6, but if you look for Berserker Quest, you'll find it. And Inner Woods, that's INNA Woods, one word. You'll find 2 of the ones that I made in the Quake engine. And I hate Adobe, but I love Photoshop. I went education with Photoshop when I went to purchase a license. They moved to a subscription-based service. I know. Tell me about it.
They're the worst.
See, I really hate it too because I love Adobe Premiere for video editing. It is what we use, but because we use more than one bit of Adobe software, like I also use Illustrator, but I could easily do without, and not use Illustrator. It means it's more effective to buy their entire creative package, whatever the hell they call it, and it hurts.
So expensive.
It really hurts. Every year that bill rolls around and I cringe at it. And I sit there looking at it, I'm like, oh, do I really need, can't I just get Photoshop and Premiere at the least? And they go, no. The most cost-effective way to go is to buy all of them. And I'm like, yeah, great, thanks.
Cool, I have all this stuff I'll never use.
Oh, yeah,
what even is this?
a bunch of stuff that I have no care about at all. But yeah, it hurts. But if you want to use it, there's not too much you can do about it, really. I think it's their way of revenge on everyone pirating their stuff in the sort of early 2000s so much. So, I mean, I worked in graphic design businesses where all their copies of Photoshop were just dodgy ones,
That's crazy. I was just gonna say, if we're making a project, it's a business, you have to pay for Photoshop, but apparently no.
No, some places I've worked at in the past, this is quite a few years ago now, where back when everyone had a dodgy copy of Photoshop, yeah, they were using the same thing. I think they had one licensed copy and then they had 4 copies all up, and it's just shonk. And I guess that's why they put so much effort into coming up with a nice subscription model that everyone loves. Yeah, Adobe Bridge. Oh, I know.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's
it's not worth explaining.
No, not really. You think an old school 2.5D RPG game like Elder Scrolls Arena or Daggerfall could find itself an audience? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's I'd play something like that. That's for sure. No, I think there's definitely room for things like that. Of all different types. I mean, you've even got things like Legend of Grimrock are trying to be, almost like the old wizardry sort of dungeon crawler type dealio, and they've had quite a fair amount of success. I think there's many people out there that are very nostalgic for that sort of RPG. almost like the old Might and Magic games. Not Heroes of Might and Magic, but just Might and Magic. I think quite a few people will be yearning for something like that again. A software subscription of the bane of my existence. Yeah, I know. It's anything subscription based. I hate I hate paying out any sort of subscription, but unfortunately, a lot of things these days.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It is just unfortunately how it works. That's like I hate things like Netflix. Like I hate that sort of pay monthly model. I don't want to do it. I'll pay monthly for things I can't do without, but I can do without
The
Netflix.
internet.
Yeah. Internet,
Yeah.
rent, things like that. Whoa!
Aww.
Thanks, Anton. You scared the shit out of me with that.
Thanks, Anton.
I forgot we got a giant boom sound attached to that.
You're very kind. I will try and edit the pixels better. And more faster.
More fast pixels.
Worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're scaring us.
I keep forgetting I've said it to that every single
Yeah.
time. No, it makes sense. It's basically like the sound that we use so much for everything, but it always goes long enough between each one that I just totally forget it exists. Alright, can I get this guy looking okay? Yeah. Again, I don't know what to do with that. Colouring through there. Alright, let me have a step through with his skin turned on. Hey, I've been lurking since the start of the stream, watching on the second monitor, and Mrs. has gone to bed. Time to sit in the conservatory with a bevy and watch the stream proper. Enjoy your bevy. Enjoy the stream.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, I wish I had a bevy right now. Wait,
You
no, I
can't
don't.
have
It's
a
9 a.m. I didn't say
bevy.
that. Okay, so one of the problems I've got here now with this cycle, I'm sure many of you can see this, is because I've started with this one and I've based it off this first frame here. I've done jacket in front of the leg, because that's how he's standing regularly. And then every other frame, more or less, I've gone, oh, yep, jacket behind the leg. So that if I actually play through like that, it's the weirdest thing ever. So now I have to pick jacket in front, jacket behind. I think jacket behind.
I like jacket behind.
Yes.
Makes more sense.
Yeah. I think so. So let me go through and edit those first couple of frames. It's only the first two, really. And then chuck the jacket behind. I might even get rid of a lot of that shade, that sort of piping or whatever it is that he's got. His lining. But, yeah, let me just change that quickly. How's the music coming along for the project, by the way? It sort of is. It sort of isn't. We haven't done very much recording yet, so it's still in that like sort of coming up with riffs type stage and getting song structure done, and not so much the let's lay it all out on a track sort of deal yet. But it's good. The same gentleman as last time, so it's Josh and John, and they did an amazing job last time, especially considering that the sort of acoustic stuff that we were doing, like not really what they sort of have done much of in the past, like a lot of sort of metal, heavier type stuff, and that is what we're going for this time around. So that yeah, it should work out pretty well, but we've just got to kind of schedule each other, get each other in in the room at the same time and do some more recording. We are about due to start recording some of the tracks for this, which will be good actually. Yeah, something like that looks a bit closer, I think. What do we got? Midnight here, perfect time for a beer or 5. Lovely. Lovely. Has a feather made of stone too. Yes, yeah, the feather will change. Yeah, that's still on my mind. But yeah, no, I'm more looking at how absolutely munted his jacket is right now. This game have modding support? No way. No, the sort of amount of effort it would take me to implement that would not be worthwhile for how many people are likely to use it, sadly. So that's the sort of thing I'd be looking at if we had, a much bigger sort of audience and a game with much bigger appeal too, to be honest. Like, this is a sort of a weird, quirky roguelike. It's not gonna light the world on fire, most likely, so yeah, it takes quite a bit of effort to implement that sort of thing, to be honest. Making a lot of tools friendly for people to use, a lot friendly for people that have very little knowledge in terms of how games work or anything. Lots of support as well, unless you go, this is totally unsupported, but even then you still got to support it a bit, so yeah, most likely no. That's probably looking better already, but I imagine this piping is going to be annoying. And of course his feather of stone. Yeah, it's just the piping now, really. His jacket also gets a little bit too long and a little bit too short. But that I'm not too worried about because this kind of goes with him jumping up in the air, gives him a bit more movement. Let me open him up over here so I can have a proper look at full speed. Although that's way too fast. Yeah, cool. Just some piping to sort out. Or lining or whatever that is. I don't know.
Coat edge bit.
Coat edge thing. And if I didn't have work, I'd chuck this on the background. Good luck. Thank you very much. Enjoy work.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Yeah.
Ethan. Alright, and then maybe I can start moving this little fella up like, whoa. Saving mid-pixel. There we good. There we go. Let's see how this goes. I kind of want this piping to like recede and then come back. Comes back a bit too suddenly. That's so. That'd be that one there. Yeah, that's looking better. Still not 100% perfect, but it's definitely looking better. Of course, his feather doesn't move yet, but we'll get around to that.
Yeah, that's good.
I think I kind of want the front of his hat to flop a bit too,
Yeah.
but we'll see if that works. Due to our pixel size, it might be way too much movement. So, alright. Okay, we've been going for live for an hour now, and I haven't had a second coffee yet, so this is a good time for take a 5-minute break. I'm just going to make another coffee, and I will be back ready to do Oh, some more frames of fun. Looks like the roll will be up next as well as the feather, that is. So we'll be back in just a second. Gonna grab another coffee.
See you in a minute.
See ya. Hello! We're back. Well, I'm back. Haley will be back in a second. Let me catch up on the chat that I've missed along the way. What do we got? I'm not too sure about the hunchback on frame 4 seems sudden. Let me have a look. Frame 4, I assume you mean the one where he tucks right up. Let me have a little look. I'm pretty happy with most of the frames so far for the vast majority of the player though, but I'll have a look. I think is it's probably more just my recolor of him that's a little bit off at the moment, but yeah, he definitely needs work. What do we got? I think the Highwayman with affinity for rubber hats is a great character choice, yes. He should be quite a fun character, actually. He's the one that starts with the grenade, which is one of my favourite little special abilities, but let me jump back in now. Whoa, there we go. Okay. Well, let's see what we got. One thing I'm noticing here, immediately, that I wasn't noticing before, is his collar keeps changing length, which is fine, but it shouldn't change length that much, because it's really only in that one frame. So, which frame's that? The first one, of course it is. Let me fix that. That's starting to look better already. Alright, let's see if I can make this feather flop. In a way that I don't totally hate. So let's pick a nice down frame, so we'll probably go, yeah, I reckon this one here. Or I could go that one there too. That leaping forward before the roll looks like the dog superhero from One Punch Man. You know, I've never actually seen One Punch Man at all. People keep telling me to see it, but I'm terrible like that. People have been telling me to see things for ages and I just don't. Alright, let's go a nice down frame on him and then we can start springing back up, I reckon. So we go up at about there. And let's just try going down through here. I'm just going to copy that and move it down. Just for the moment, just to sort of rough it all out just a touch. Let's go. Pretty straight across here. I definitely need that second coffee. It's kicking in already. Alright. You'll notice if you're familiar with these streams at all, everything starts off mildly energetic, slows down, and picks back up again. That's directly in cycle with when I go get another coffee. That moves way too much there. I'm just going to see if I can rough him out somewhat. I'm not going to worry too much about the shading at the moment because I'll go through and fix that up in a sec. But Rickman Rogman. I managed to see you live. The last time I issued notification came through 4 hours after the stream had ended. Yeah, that's nice of it.
Come on, YouTube.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, what am I actually doing here? What frame is that? 2. 2. I feel like this should be going the other way. Excuse me while I go super rough and super fast on this to just see if I've got general shape going on here. I'm stepping through in the wrong direction. No, let me redo this. Too much coffee, not enough think. Oop. Let me just do the shapes like that because that's just going to make everything a little bit easier. Get rid of this. I should have done this to start with. Too. Oh, what have we got here? I haven't looked at the chat for a while. Feels like it's sweeping up during the jump when it should have swooped down. Yes, I started doing everything the wrong way around. And there's an Ellen. Game's looking good. Keep up the solid work. Thank you very much. What software is this? This is Pixel Edit. That's Pixel with a Y. Let me get rid of all this junk so I can just concentrate on the actual movement of the sort of spine of the feather, and then I can add everything in. Because, like I said, too many coffees, and I just jumped straight into it when I really shouldn't have. And up we go, feather goes down. Gradually turn it back around.
It's a good namesake to have, Rickman. How good's Alan Rickman? He was great.
I should flick down when he starts his jump up. Not flip up, right? It needs to start flicking here. Second frame. And then turn the other way around and then go back up that way. And as he lands, settling, which it doesn't. Wish that I did not do these frames this way around. You're saying frame 3 is the wrong way around. How do you mean? I'm going with as he lands. That's alright, that's alright. I'm going with as he lands, his feathers kind of, so as he goes to jump up, the feather is lagging behind and kind of follows. Where he gets to the top of his jump, it falls back down. As he lands, it then flops down. That's what I'm trying to go for anyway. So I'm trying to get for like about here. He's at the peak of his jump, and then tip starts going down. Here we'll start transitioning back the other way. So as he jumps, it's kind of like the middle of the feather is the heaviest bit. That's what I'm thinking of, because I want like a real bounce to it. What's that? My youngest 10 wanted a Ramo for his Pixel comic he's working on, which in turn means that is the Pixel program I have to use in case he gets stuck. Well, there's nothing too wrong with that. A lot of people have said very good things about that, including quite a few people who I trust very much on their opinion with Pixel editing. I've played around with it a bit. It seems really quite good, and to be honest, if we weren't already locked into using Pixel Edit for this project, we'd probably be using that. But it just happened to be what I used on Bannerman, and when we started this game, we basically continued using it as well, and I don't like to change tools sort of mid-race, so to speak. But yeah, I've heard very good things about it. And yeah, in the brief amount of time that I've spent actually playing with it, I've quite enjoyed it. It's got some really good, it's really lovely dither fills and things like that, which is super handy. Pixel Ed doesn't have anything like that, so if you want to dither, you're dithering manually, which is kind of tedious. To be honest, it's nice to just be able to go fill, and then she's all done. He jumps up in frame 3, but you made his feather go up from the tail. It should lag behind, but you made it lead. He jumped from the back to... Yeah, well, I don't have anything on frame 3 at the moment. I'm literally just doing shapes and then seeing what works and what doesn't. That's the thing though, I'm a Photoshop man. I just like changing tools as well. Yeah, I'm a big Photoshop guy as well, because I come from sort of graphic design more than anything else, so I hate using Photoshop for pixel art though. I tried, because obviously I already have it and I use it and things like that, and I gave it a go, but I can't do it. For whatever reason, it's just something about it. It's like it's just not made for it in any capacity. Just always trying to anti-alias everything constantly, and even when you turn the pixel grid on, it doesn't really want to act as a proper pixel grid. It's I don't know. I hated it. Some people love it though. They make entire giant pixel art masterpieces in Photoshop, and yeah, I couldn't. That would just drive me absolutely up the wall. Yeah, pen tool and pixel grid. I know it's yeah, for whatever reason, it's just yeah, I guess it's just the way I'm used to using Photoshop and that sort of thing. I know like heaps of people use it with no problem at all. I couldn't get around it. I tried using it when I first started doing Bannerman, and I just didn't end up really enjoying it. And I sort of looked around for what else there actually is out there, and then yeah, that's where I found Pixel Edit, and I was like, oh, this seems to work. It's got the same shortcuts, great. And then I was like, bang, and just went straight into it. And that's pretty much the only reason I ever used Pixel Edit, to be honest, is basically because I came across it pretty quick, and the shortcuts worked for me. That's the main thing. I really hate when you go across to like a new sort of any sort of editing program of any sort, like be it video or image or anything like that, and you've basically got to redo your shortcuts for everything. It's just absolutely painful.
Is there a way to like animate in Photoshop like there is in Pixel Edit?
You can, yeah, but it's not the same sort of thing.
Yeah, like I imagine like Photoshop would be good for doing like, you know, you got one big image. But I don't know. I've never used Photoshop to do pixel art, so like I imagine it would just handle bigger images better.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. Like that's what this really falls down with. Pixel Edit just can't stand like large resolution sort of stuff. Like even not really getting that big, but when we had like yeah, Haley was doing the intro animation and the sort of size of the canvas that we had for that, which I'll even open one up actually. But it's like, let me just open it up here. Oop. Let's go. Oh, like the desk one, that was huge.
Yeah, that kind of broke at one stage.
Yeah, this kind of broke the program quite a bit. You can even see it kind of lags a bit when it's open. I mean, like, what size are we looking at here?
That one's like the biggest one we did, I think.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's only 3,000 by 2,400, so it's not that big. But yeah, it's a bunch of big scenes. With the animation just done on the scenes rather than animating separately, you know, the hands and things like that. We just animated on the sort of large-scale scene, and this thing was painful because it just, like, Pixel Edit just kept sort of, like, it ended up crashing and then, yeah. And it's like, yeah, so anything like this, I wouldn't recommend Pixel Edit for.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, this isn't what it's made for either at the same time, so we're kind of doing something we're not really meant to do, and
yeah, and the only reason that like scene ended up being so big was because we wanted to pan across the scene, like in editing software.
That's right. So in our sort of like when we're actually putting the trailer together, for example, like our camera viewport's only really about sort of that big, like that sort of size, and then it moves across the entire image. So it's sort of. It just happened to be like one specific thing where it didn't work out, but
we got there in the end.
Yeah, it got there in the end. It did, like, in saying that, like it had a couple of crashes and things like that. But yeah. It did end up handling the whole thing. In the end, with a couple of complaints along the way, but it did work. Like, we didn't have to swap to something else halfway through.
Cheers, Rickman. Yeah, I love the palette and the lighting that we use for the intro animation.
I love the intro animation. That's turned out really well. It still needs a bit of editing, and it needs music as well. But it's looking pretty good. The editing's a little bit floppy at the moment, I would say. But yeah, it's like it really ended up working out quite well for this. And like, yeah, even some of these larger sort of canvases like that, Like, what's that? 1500 by like 1200. I don't think there's any problem with that, was there?
No, I don't think so. I think that one's fine.
So yeah, that sort of size, that sort of number of frames is fine. But it's just, it seems if you push it further than this, then it tends to whinge a bit, and that's where I'd look at using something else. But then I don't even know how most other programs, sort of pixel art programs, would handle this sort of thing anyway. Most of them would probably complain quite a bit. Depends, really. They're not really made for that, you know. They're made for doing like your little 8x8 sort of tiles and things like that for your little RPG and that sort of deal. So we're kind of pushing it beyond what it's supposed to be used for. And it didn't crash, which is nice. What was I doing? Oh yeah. So this is the problem whenever I'm live streaming. I spend too long talking on the camera and not enough time actually doing anything. Which is kind of weird. But that's just how it is, and then I end up getting distracted by chat halfway through that I actually do start doing something, and then I spend a lot of time just kind of moving my mouse around, not really accomplishing anything.
I love being distracted by the chat. It's good.
Yeah, well, it is good, but it's at the same time I end up not really doing much. Speaking of, I suppose, have you guys even seen the intro animation? Have we even shown you? I don't think we have we?
We had it in one of the Just Make Game videos.
Oh, did we? I might. One second here. Let me just set it up so I can see if I can actually show you guys. Give you a bit of an idea of what it actually looks like. 1 second. Let me go. So it doesn't. So the editing's a bit floppy on it, and it doesn't have any music, but it does have some basic sound effects in there. Let's see what I got. You know what? It's probably easiest to open it on YouTube, believe it or not. 1 second here. Let me open it up. Just because, yeah, I think we've shown it a bit, but not properly. So. I just realised that in like a lot of our videos and stuff like that, we're working on it now. It's just kind of disappeared. So. Anyway, yeah, we're mainly waiting for the music for him. That's it there. Let's see if I can open that up. And I wonder if OBS... Hello, Taka Taka, how you doing? I wonder if OBS will actually capture at full screen if I do so. Have you guys got a penciled in target for full release or demo milestone? Oh, we don't really have anything penciled in yet. Soon for something playable, hopefully. Especially for our patrons, people over on our patrons over on Patreon. The top tier for that, they get something playable when we have it, and I feel bad because it's been many months and we haven't actually done anything playable yet. What is Haley working on? Haley is working on also the same sprites, the same character sprites as well. Let me just see if I can capture this in Chrome. Will it work? As well, like that. Okay. I'll give you desktop audio as well, I suppose. And will it capture in full screen? It will. There we go. we go. That is a rough cut of our sort of intro, and the trailer will be based off that as well. But yes, it's a little bit ropey at the moment, the editing on him, and obviously we're missing music and things like that. But that will be coming eventually. A lot of animation went into that. Pretty nuts.
Yeah, I think it looks good. Proud of it. Some bits need a touch up, but yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly just in the editing. Like there's too much sort of cutting to black for it and things like that. But yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, it does work somewhat without music. It's especially the sort of music track that I don't think I have anything recorded for it, unfortunately, but it's pretty punchy, sort of metal type sort of deal. But yeah, it's pretty full on, so it does sort of amp it up a lot more. So this is a lot more sort of laid back without it. But yeah, it sort of starts off moderately punchy and then gets real full on towards that middle part where, you know, everything's going everywhere and that sort of deal. But yeah, so let's have a look. Haley, what are you up to at the moment? You're still doing...
Yeah, I'm just working on one of the other character sprites. I can check my file somewhere if I want to open it and have a look.
Which one is it? It's just the detective, isn't it?
Yep.
Really, same thing. Same thing as what I'm currently doing. So.
Slightly shorter coat, no feather in the hat.
Yeah, no feather in the hat. That's
you can open up some of the other ones that we've done.
Yeah, so let me grab this one here. It's probably a good idea. So Shirley there. So all just the same sort of thing. They've got a bunch of animations for him. So you've got the soldier, and then we've got archaeologist that's got a dot. I don't know.
Might just be a cursor.
Doctor. Explorer. You can't see his white pants on the background, but ignore that. Hunter. The scholar. There's a preacher. An inventor. And Haley's currently doing that one there, and then I'm currently doing that one as well, which I will see if I can muster up the energy to finish at some point. Thank you very much. Yeah, very happy with how it looks. Gives our Alone in the Dark originals mixed with another world vibe. Yes, very much. Also, the intro from Flashback is very similar in sort of color palette and stuff as well, which may be quite the inspiration. I do love every single rotoscoped game out there, basically, from my childhood. I do love me with some rotoscoping. Does all the character art use the same palette? Yes, as far as I know, yes. It's a pretty wide palette, though.
Yeah.
This isn't all of it here. What you can see there doesn't actually include everything. For all of them, there is a wider palette. But yes, there's like a character palette, which is then separate from the sort of palette for the tiles and objects. Objects have a separate one as well. So tiles are a bit more subdued. Objects are a bit more exciting, and characters are a bit more exciting again. Yes, Flashback. I love Flashback. That is one of my favourite games ever. Absolutely. While I'm just kind of staring at the chat here, rather than doing that feather, I'm literally just going to go along and start doing some of this roll animation so it actually gets done, because otherwise I'm just going to sit here half reading the chat, half doing a feather and not really accomplishing anything. So let me just kind of start filling in some pants and things like that over here, because otherwise I'll just not do anything, and I'll look back at what I did today and it will be bugger all. So
that's the thing with like pixel art. Doing any art is knowing when to stop.
Yeah,
like,
well, it's like especially with staring at the chat half the time too. I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this in because it's just easier.
Yeah, but you can sit there like fiddling with things for ages, trying to get them just right, when you should just stop, move on to something else, and then like come back and look at it again with fresh eyes.
It's actually something that's ridiculous is every time I try to do like new tiles or something like that on stream, it's been absolutely painful because I'm trying to come up with something that looks okay, but at the same time I'm trying to actually, talk to people, and it's different from my usual sort of work mode, which is sit here in silence, looking angrily at the screen.
Listening to something on YouTube.
Yeah, listen to something on YouTube, that sort of thing. So it's very different working on stream as opposed to working just the two of us in here. I believe someone asked earlier as well how long we plan to stream for. I don't know. I kind of go until I'm not feeling it anymore. And then from there, keep working but off stream, basically, because it is a bit weird working on stream, I must admit.
It's good though, it's fun.
It is fun. It's a different sort of thing. It definitely breaks up the sort of monotony of work a bit, that's for sure.
Yeah. You're going to have fun with that coat doing the roll animation as well.
It shouldn't be too bad, actually. I'm kind of just going to turn it into a ball, I think. I'll ball it up. But, yeah, I'm a bit more worried about some of the attack animations, actually, with the coat.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this is the first character, or one of the characters with the longest coats, anyway. Which of course I've picked as the one I'm going to do today on the stream, because I love it. Yeah, basically like that. Okay.
Any rotoscoping for the character sprites?
Not for these. No, these are all just sort of hand animated, I guess you'd say.
No, the only rotoscoping we've done so far is we did a bit for the intro animation.
Yeah, that would be everything, wouldn't it? Yeah. No, I'd kind of had enough of most rotoscoping after Bannerman, I must admit. It's about enough rotoscoping for me. The sort of rotoscoping we're doing for the animation is a bit different too. It's a bit more like Disney style rather than flashback style, I guess you'd say. A bit more like you're making a film rather than you're making a game.
Yeah.
So that was kind of something a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna need some stilts attached to my legs for rotoscoping these sprites, yeah. Yeah, old pointy feet over here. I really like the way these characters look. With their weird legs.
They remind me of like dancers. The way their like legs point and their toes point at the end.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually.
I just started on a new animation now, and I realised I left something off in my last roll animation. I was like, damn.
Don't you love
Go back
it?
and put it in before I forget.
Well, it's better than doing the opposite, which is you do frames that you realise you don't need to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've already got them from an earlier animation, they get reused or something. Yeah, rotoscoping does have a sort of... there's something about it, I can't really put my finger on what it is exactly that makes it so appealing to me. It's definitely got like a certain almost uncanny vibe, uncanny valley type feel to it.
Yeah, it does.
But like not in a bad way, if that makes sense. So I don't know. There's something I absolutely love rotoscoping, especially sort of pixel art rotoscoping. But it really in all of its forms, to be honest.
Yeah, any rotoscoped animation, I love it. It's good.
Yeah, especially like the old Disney sort of stuff as well. Big fan of, which most people don't know was basically rotoscoped. Most of it pretty much was. You can argue the difference between rotoscoping and heavily being influenced by your reference footage, but it's pretty much rotoscoping.
There was a guy on YouTube that was doing beautiful, like, rotoscoped animation. It wasn't pixel.
Oh, what is his name? Hang on, 1 second. I'll find him.
Yeah, you're probably subscribed to him.
Oh, I think I am. It's like Gorgonaut or something?
Yeah.
Something like that? Hang on, let me find him here. If you're a rotoscoping fan, he's worth a look. Takes forever to do each video, which you can understand. Well, I can definitely understand. Where are we? Oh, maybe I'm misremembering his name. He goes under the name Morgan King
Ah, that's him.
on YouTube. Yeah, Morgan King. It's all this fantasy rotoscope stuff, so sort of in the vein of like the sort of Lord of the Rings type stuff, or like heavy metal as well. Really cool stuff. Lots of people getting dismembered and chopped up and things like that. So if you don't like that, well, you're not going to enjoy it. But
Beautiful animation.
yeah, lovely animation, nonetheless. You guys gonna update to Game Maker Studio 2 after this, or look at jumping another engine like Unity? You know what? I like nothing set in stone, but I'm looking forward to getting back to 3D again after all this 2D silliness that we've been I've been doing over the last couple of years now. Because I come from 3D originally, so I wouldn't mind going back to 3D and doing something with that. But it'd probably end up being something quite low fidelity 3D, because I do like that sort of thing.
I have never touched 3D before, so
Be extra fun.
yeah, I'll be able to learn.
Did you see the tweet from YouTube about how the changes to how copyright stuff is handled? No, I didn't. What's the go? Where are we? I actually found your channel many moons ago that I was looking for tutorials on cleaning up 3D animation to image files for rotoscoping. You kept prompting me to watch a tutorial on rotoscoping +1 to YouTube in that regard. Yeah, everyone seems to have found my channel through that video.
Good
so
tutorial.
I'm glad I did that video, to be honest. I like doing those sorts of tutorials, but they take forever to edit. Yeah, post a link to it. It'll probably come up as not allowed, but I'll approve it. Yeah.
How's your role coming along?
Yeah, I'm not yet at the bit that's going to annoy the hell out of me.
Just do the start and the end. And
Yeah,
then
that'd be good.
Just
Just
leave
skip.
the middle. Just be like, Haley, just fix up that middle bit for me later.
Oh, I decide suddenly out of nowhere, I think we should actually smear the roll.
Yeah, it was very mean of me to pick out all the easy characters to do first.
Yeah, what the hell? Good on you.
I knew you'd be good at these ones.
Yeah, great. The sort of pixel art's getting a bit rusty, actually. I'm sort of not doing that much of it lately. Especially compared to Bannerman. Like, towards the end of Bannerman, all I was doing was pixel art and making levels and... But it's funny, you kind of miss what you're not immediately doing now. Like, I'm doing a lot of code at the moment and things like that for my special abilities, that sort of thing. And the last thing I want to do right now is more code. Yeah, cop out and say, character can't roll. Yeah, that's it. He's just like, nah, it's for balance reasons, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone with a difficult outfit on can't roll.
You can't roll.
New Game Plus.
Oh, it'd be too hard to roll wearing all this, you know. Yeah, I'm just going to basically chuck it in and see what works.
Yeah.
Kind of like I did the first time through. Just go, I don't know.
That's what I've been doing. I've just been
It's the
like,
best way to do it, really.
yeah, not even watching the animation until I've like kind of filled it all in, and then you go back and play it and be like, cool, that frame is no good.
Yeah, I honestly think it's a faster way to work than
Yeah.
to sit there and like overanalyze every frame, because otherwise you end up spending ages. You still have to go back and look at it anyway, and it's still crap. Or at least in my experience it is anyway.
Yeah, there's always going to be something that you have to fix up.
Kind of looks like he's doing a Superman dive there, so that's something. Great. It's kind of just like glued to his back, the coat, but I suppose I don't really want the coat moving
Mine's
that much
like that too. Like,
so for all acrobatics. I'll tell you what, I'm so glad that I had the forethought to make so much of this game modular
Yes.
compared to Bannerman, and that's in a way that, you know, characters are all basically the same but wearing different outfits over the same sort of skin, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, compared to doing things like Bannerman where every single thing was all by hand specifically for that one animation, even to the point where, you know, if you turn around, you draw a whole new animation as opposed to just flip it. I don't know why I did that. I guess I just like wasting time. So the link got eaten. Oh no, I didn't see nothing. Hang on one sec. Let me check on here to see if it came up at all. No, I'm getting nothing here. Let me find it. So it's just on their Twitter account, yeah. One tick. Let's see if I can find it here. Ah, okay. What's this? No, I didn't see this at all. Thanks for bloody bringing it up. Okay, so it links to a post. Links to this post here. Timestamps and editing tools help you resolve manual content ID claims. You know, I've never had an ID claim or anything like that. I guess I'm lucky. Some other people suffer from it constantly. Different creators, increased number of manual claims, especially for short segments of video. Yeah. New manual ID claims. Exactly what's happening. I mean, they see exactly where they've claimed. Well, that's good. It's been shocking. You can mute your song, replace your song. I'm waiting for someone to copyright. Or, you know, not copyright, but put in a claim to all of Bannerman's soundtrack, because when I put my, like, I distributed it through, was it CD Baby, I think, which goes to, you know, like Spotify and YouTube and things like that as well, and one of the big buttons you've got, which I didn't click, is let's put this on the Content ID system, which means anyone playing the game with the soundtrack, you know, at a certain volume would immediately get flagged for it, so I didn't tick that, but I'm waiting for someone to do something shonky and just end up claiming all my music for that, and I can't wait. I'm sure it'll come at some point. You can do it if you see a claim, share revenue, and dispute the claim. Yeah, great. At least I got the. I like the sort of replace song and trim it out.
And I quite liked too the
Get your manual claiming revoked.
Yeah. If it's not accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty full on for YouTube, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool as far as YouTube goes.
Yeah. Thanks for showing us that.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm just gonna chuck his whole thing up like that. And you know what? I just realised I've been missing these out. Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I haven't had anything like claimed at all, which I'm actually quite surprised at. Like, or have I? Trying to think. No, I don't think so. Like, which is weird, because every now and then I do use something that is copyright, very briefly in a video, and I'm surprised that doesn't come up more than it does. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have one claim video. It is it's back when I was doing Berserker Quest, and I used the Benny Hill theme with a bunch of ostriches running around. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And that got claimed like not that long ago.
Years ago.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, okay. Also,
Okay, have your Benny Hill theme.
yeah, I'm like, okay, it wasn't even monetized, I'm pretty sure, and they're just like, yeah, great. So it is now.
Yeah.
You know, it goes to the Benny Hill estate or whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, great. Yeah, copyright owners who repeatedly fail to provide accurate data for timestamps will have access to manual claiming revoked is the big bit there. That's pretty huge, to be honest. Of course, you wonder how many times they've got to do it, and how long it's revoked for, and if it stays revoked. Could be very interesting for people. There's a couple of companies out there that are very claim happy.
Yeah.
Very, very claim happy. My main problem with the YouTube copyright system is people using it for things that it's not meant for. You know, like people trying to silence, like, I don't know, like reviews they don't like and stuff like that. Like you see that all the time with like some sort of like game like developers that melt down because they get a crap review from someone, so they go on the DMCA takedown sort of route, and I'm just like, don't do that.
That's not what it's for.
Yeah, and I'm like, and you're not gonna win that. Like that's not gonna work for you.
It's just gonna make you look like a bit of a crybaby.
Yeah, it's just like
handle criticism.
It's not going to go away.
No.
You can't just. It's like, I don't know. Do you like people doing reviews of your stuff and not liking it is just part of how it works.
Like, yeah, it hurts, but
Yeah,
you
it sucks.
have to learn to live with it, really.
Yeah, that's it. What 3D background do you come from? Modeling, texturing, animation, all the above. I used to do a lot of mapping, actually. Software. It was mainly 3D Studio Max. So this is going back quite a way. So it was it was mainly Max, and it was mainly mapping and modeling. But in saying that, my mapping and modeling and everything like that is way out of date, because I was basically, before doing any sort of like inverse kinetics or anything like that, basically like frame by frame actual, like, you know, baked in model animation, no bones and that sort of thing. So it was like the, because it was again for Quake mainly, and it didn't support that out of the box, so it was just like vertex animation. So I'd have to essentially relearn how to do all that sort of thing. But I must admit, I reckon I am still probably a pretty good mapper. I did a lot of mapping for Quake before I started modding it properly, and some of those maps were pretty popular, actually. And a couple of deathmatch maps that were played pretty commonly. And a couple of Team Fortress maps as well. But yeah, I like 3D. I think it's fun to work in. And like, that's not to say 2D isn't fun too. 2D is kind of fun in its own way. But I'm like looking at what I've done here, and this is just not good. There we go. Yeah, I like playing around with sort of like 3D vectors and things like that, and you just get things moving in different directions, and anything with physics is also fun to just play with.
Yeah, I'd really like to learn how to do some 3D modeling stuff. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah, I'm not even sure. I think a lot of people are using Blender these days, I'm pretty sure, aren't they? Blender, when I think it was an option when I was mainly doing 3D, but it wasn't a particularly good one, I don't think so. Or maybe it's Maya I'm thinking of. I'm not too sure. Yeah, all I remember is I used 3D smacks, as I call it, because that's hilarious. Yeah, I used 3D Studio Max because I remember that was just kind of like, I don't know, one of the better solutions at the time. Yeah, no, I think it might have been mainly for plugins and things like that. I'm not too sure. Alright. Probably, yeah. Blender Half-Life 2, that sounds about right. I must admit, by about that point, I was kind of, I was still playing with stuff that was way old at this at this point, so I was still using 3D Studio Max to do really basic sort of 3D stuff like Quake, because I kind of stuck with Quake for so long. It's ridiculous. Maybe we should go back to the Quake engine. What do you reckon? Wouldn't that be fun? Lots of support for that.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna just take a small little break here. I'm gonna get another coffee. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and things like that, so I'll be back in just a second. Alright, guys, don't go anywhere. I'll be back soon. Yeah, I'm back. I just gonna check the chat out here. Holy shit, what is that? £25. Oh my god. Pay for all the coffee and snack food. Gotta keep that energy up, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, coffee. I go through so much coffee. I drink too much coffee. I've got one coming. Sounds like you feel right at home with Unity Pro Builder and or UModel are very similar to the old mapping tools. Yeah, I think the mapping tool I used to use, I didn't use 3D Studio Max for mapping. I think I used, what's it called? It was Quake Army Knife, which was a kind of what you think of as a typical older map editor, kind of like the Hammer editor for, I think it was called, for Half-Life. But yeah, that's going from Quake editing to Unreal editing was a nightmare for me when I was younger. I think Quake had you building within a void. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Unreal had you carving from a void. I remember that. I did do a little bit of Unreal. Yes, that was like a yeah. That's like the opposite of how it works. Like Quake, you had to make sure that everything was all enclosed when you finished, or you got like BSP leaks and things like that, and light leaks, and your culling wouldn't work and all that sort of thing because because it was all BSP trees and stuff. Yeah, I'm like, how do you even do maps these days? I have no idea because I haven't done it in so long. I'm sure it'll be quite the learning experience. Alright, what was I doing? I was doing... Oh, that's right, I was doing the roll. Non-stop roll. I should probably keep plodding along with this, I guess. Yeah, I imagine everything's very different these days, from how it was, but yeah, Hall of Mirrors, that's it, yeah. But that's part of the fun, isn't it? Like, learning the totally new way that it's all going to work. Now it is, yes, it is to the left. Oh, is it actually down on that one? I have done that hat wrong. It's down on this frame. Oop.
Thank you so much, Poop Too Much. Thank you. I just had a panic moment then when I had to check I was on the right layer. It's all good. We're fine. It's all good.
Yeah, the number of times that we do that. I always do that in Photoshop too. Absent-minded layer wandering.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, find and fix a leaky BSP map you've never lived. Yeah, I swear to God, there were some times where, I don't know if it was just the actual build tools were wrong, but I'm sure everyone's had this experience with any sort of BSP map, where you're sitting there and you're looking at the map and it doesn't actually compile properly, and you can swear to God, you're looking around it and you're like, this is all totally enclosed, there's no leaks, and everyone's done the thing where you just build another, like, basically hollow out another rectangle around the entire map and enclose it, and then it compiles, and then you sort of, well, that's a terrible solution, so you're going to get rid of that, and trying to find your way back to where any sort of leak is. And I swear I've had it before where there's like even a relatively simple room, there was nothing that could have leaked at all. And I always wondered if that was just me missing something, or if that was just the tools being terrible.
I remember you doing that on Berserker Quest.
Yeah, there was a couple of levels in that, because they're really, really pretty big for BSB, sort of tree-based levels. They were massive. A couple of those anyway. And I'm just sitting there going, I swear there's nothing wrong with this. Yeah, but I think everyone's had that sort of feeling before. It's infuriating. Yeah, don't miss that sort of thing, that's for sure. You can't really have a leak in a 2D level, so... oh, I mean, you can. Yeah, the rectangle fix, yes, go, yep, there we go, that'll be fine.
In Bannerman, you had issues with like the levels or the like different stuff being on the right layers.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, you've almost got like, yeah, I suppose that's almost the 2D version, is you got your like, sort of, Z depth type thing, rather than... yeah, I think that's what it was, yeah. No, Quake... okay, so the Quake 1 map editors that I used did have lines to the leak, but they would be this ridiculous squiggle. So you'd have... okay, so you'd be looking at it from the sort of top view and your side view, and you'd have... alright, there's me room, there's me other room, and then it'd go, oh, there was a leak, can't compile, and the line would come through like this, on like 2 different views, and you're like, what? And you're sitting there looking at just a square room, and you're sitting there going, what the hell is this? That's what always used to happen to me. And I think you're right, like, yeah, the verts would slip, and it's like, there would be like, yeah, like a slight, like, micron gap between them that for some reason the mapping software just had like imprecision or something in it just built into it. And yeah, I always had that problem with it, and it's just... I did a very little amount of Quake 3 sort of stuff, so I assumed like it was a lot better by then, but like the Quake 1 stuff, it's just... it theoretically showed you where the leak was, but it would just end up being a random line drawn across the entire map, and you're just like, okay. Yeah, exactly, it's just absolutely useless. It was just, instead of going, oh yeah, it's right here, and you go, oh great, it's the staircase, it was just, it'd just highlight the entire map, and you're like, oh, brilliant. Fantastic, I guess I'll just draw a box around the whole bloody thing. Which always felt like the biggest cop-out, and that you shouldn't do it, and I'm sure that had massive performance impact, and so yeah, I'm pretty sure it did, especially big maps. Not to mention you're saving all this like viz data that won't be used because it's all stuff that you can't even get into within that box, and yeah, it's just... I don't miss those sorts of days now that I think about it.
I just found another bit I had to go back and fix up. This coat wasn't long enough at the back. Free!
Yeah, you gotta love it. You've got to love it. That's not meant to be that colour, is it? No, it's just the arm. Come on, Michael. Yeah, I assume that is why Unreal does it that way around. It's just, yeah, because then you're basically always enclosed in something, so... I mean, yeah, it's just it would have been a way to try to solve that problem, I imagine. Because I feel like this is a problem that everyone had that had to do something with this. Like, everyone seemed to have this sort of drama with it, that I remember talking to at the time. And it was like just a common thing. Everyone was just like, oh yeah, just, try redrawing some of your sections of walls. And that's what it would have been. It must have been that imprecision. Because sometimes you'd redraw like a main wall. And it would spontaneously work again. I'll just say, hi, say my name, please. Pinky plate of pancakes.
Well,
hello.
A plate of pancakes.
A pinky plate. Speaking of imprecision, that's one of my favourite sort of memories of anything Quake related was the original Quake 1 model format, which just had like vertex imprecision everywhere. So you'd end up with like vertex swimming, where it just every time you saved it, every single vertex would just drift by a certain amount. So if you save the file too much, then they turn to like Rubberman, which is like it's like kind of like saving a JPEG. It's like every time you do it, it gets a little bit more compressed. It's terrible. I'm like, why did I put up with that for so long? With all the G2A stuff that just happened, did you have any issues with them and Bannerman? Bannerman did appear on G2A a bit, especially sort of early on, where a bunch of press copies and things like that, review copies were just ended up on G2A. But to be honest, I kept a pretty sort of militant eye on what keys I was giving out and verifying everyone wasn't just totally trying to rip me off. So I haven't had a huge amount of issues with them. As to how I feel about them, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty shonk, but like their whole sort of business model is based off people selling keys, and like the vast majority of the time these keys have been gotten through dodgy means, either through impersonating reviewers and things like that, or doing credit card chargebacks and still ending up with the key and then selling it off. But there's, I don't know, kind of like there's not too much you can really do about it, to be honest. Yeah, they don't really seem like they're going to change their business model. I mean, it works for them. They make a big bunch of money out of doing this. But yeah, I haven't personally had too many issues with it. Like there's some games out there, and you can, if you search for a certain game, you'll find it's $15 on Steam, and on G2A it's $1.10 or something like that, and that's just because there's so many keys for it. I think every time Bannerman was on there, it was actually relatively high price because it was only like a handful of people that actually had a key. I'm actually going to check right now to see if it is on there at the moment, because every now and then it does pop up.
Yeah, I saw a couple of tweets when I was scrolling through last night about G2A, but I didn't really look into what was going on with it.
No, it's not on there at the moment. It's unavailable. No one's got any keys for it, which is nice. I've very loosely followed what's going on. Basically, a couple of devs are going, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, we haven't done anything wrong. And they're like, get rid of my game. And they're like, oh, no, it's just like a PR fiasco.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't particularly like them, but then at the same time, I'm kind of like, this bugger all I can do about it. I just kind of resign myself to that fact and just try to limit the damage that can get done by it. But I don't know. I feel like depending on the price it's at depending on the price it is when it's on G2A, you've got a couple of different kinds of people buying on there. You've got people that want to get it on sale and it isn't on sale at the moment. And in which case that is like a lost sale for you in my eyes. I'm like, oh, you've actually dipped out. That person probably would have bought it next time it was on sale. Although there's a high chance they would have chucked it on the wish list or something like that. And eventually, you would have converted them like that. But then you've got other people there that are buying it for, $1. Something that's $30 sort of retail price, and they're buying it for $1. you could say that those people might have hung out for a sale too, but I think they're closer to the sort of audience that would sort of more willingly pirate. And I'm sort of in the boat where if people pirate your game, I'm like, I just consider that a lost sale. Like, that's someone you weren't going to, I should say I don't consider that a lost sale. That's someone generally I feel that isn't going to buy your game in the first place. Either because they're kids and they don't have any money, or they live, in a country where even with, like, reduced sort of Steam costs, localized pricing and things like that, it's still exorbitant to buy games. Or there are people that, pirate to try things out and stuff like that as well. Some people do legitimately do that. I think a lot of people do say they do that, but don't. But there are some people that legitimately do that sort of thing. So I don't really have much of an issue with people pirating games, really. I do have more of an issue with things like G2A when they just make a big bunch of cash.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, I guess. It's one thing, if you have a game and you put it up for other people to download for free, as opposed to a company that knowingly, like, puts it up to make money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And they make a lot. Like, they got, like, there's a big, like, G2A stadium and stuff like that they sponsor and things like that, so...
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm just kind of the view of, I'm like, oh, well, not much I can do about that.
Yeah. I remember when, Hotline Miami 2 was banned in Australia.
I do, yes.
And, because they wouldn't give them a classification. Yeah, and basically the guys that made Hotline Miami were like, well, you can't get it in Australia, so here's a link to Pirate version. Go for it, guys.
Pretty much, yeah. Which the funniest thing about that whole thing was that the original Hotline Miami didn't get a classification in Australia at all, because it's sort of sold on the net. Games kind of have this, like, you're supposed to have a classification for anything being sold in Australia, but things over the net, because it's like a government entity, they're not keeping up with how it works. So most things don't have a classification at all, and they, you can buy and sell them just fine, and there's kind of no drama, even though you're not technically meant to. Then you had Hotline Miami, the first one, didn't have a classification. Now, second time they made their sequel, and they were like, oh, we should probably do that now that we're a big established company, we've got a bunch of money and stuff. Do the right thing, and then they get refused classification. And so then that basically means that it's banned in Australia. And then they were like, all right, well, here's a link to the Pirate Bay guys. I'm pretty sure they tweeted that out, actually.
Yeah.
And it's like... You try to do the right thing, bites you right in the ass.
Yeah. Sad.
That's pretty funny. And the only game I've even thought of pirating is Borderlands 3 with the intent to purchase it once it hits Steam. There's people that pirate for reasons that are both legitimate and illegitimate, and I don't know. I'm a big proponent of the sort of, like, what Valve reckon about piracy and things like that, where it's like a service issue. You make it easier to buy it than the hassle of pirating it, and most people will buy it. And I think they're largely right with that. I think due to how easy it is to buy on Steam and other platforms like that, a lot of people that would pirate basically just shell out the money these days because it's just easier, and you just go buy, and then it ends up in your Steam library, and you go cool, and you just play it. Especially now that you get refunds and things like that too. If it's crap, then you get your money back. Which is good. That's a good system, that. I'm glad that sort of finally arrived.
Yeah. It's like the same with like TV shows and stuff. Like, people would illegally watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Because especially in Australia, you couldn't watch it without Foxtel, could you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Alec. How you doing?
Hi. Yeah, you make something easy enough to get legitimately, and then that kind of disappears for the most part. Not for everyone, but most people kind of want to do the right thing, I reckon.
Yeah, I think most people will just go for sort of whatever's easier, if that's illegal or illegal, really. Teacher's awesome favourite games to you. Well, thank you very much. There's a lot of competition out there. That's very nice of you to say.
Thank you.
I don't even play games anymore, and I'll buy all your games from now on into the future. Well, thank you. I loved Bannerman. Well, thank you very much. I'm very glad to hear that. Can I get that right? Alright. What have I done there? That doesn't look right. That looks totally wrong. What have you done, Michael? What is that? That's terrible. Thank you very much, Alec. Is it gonna go ding?
Thank you, Alec.
We have no intention of stopping anytime soon, so we'll keep going for ages. Although sometimes it is tempting. Thank you very much. Yeah, over 300 games on Steam. Milady has 250, and two youngins are both around 90, yeah. I pirate all the Game of Thrones, but also own them on Blu-ray, yeah. That's it.
Oh, good question. Are we closer to Ramsey Street or Summer Bay? You know, I think we're closer to Ramsey Street.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Ramsey Street. That's a great question.
I have visited Summer Bay before. My sister was a huge Home and Away fan, so when I was in high school, I think we went there on one of our driving holidays. Yeah, we're much closer to Ramsey Street.
Yeah, much closer. Where is Summer Bay supposed to actually be anyway?
Well, the set is in Vermont.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, that's Ramsey.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Ramsey Street's in Vermont. Summer Bay is somewhere near Sydney.
Yeah, that's what I figured, but I can't remember. No. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Northern Beach of Sydney.
Alright, let's see if I hate this initial pass or I'm happy with it enough to just leave it for the moment and go on to something else. Yeah, I don't know why they were so big in the UK. They weren't, like, they're not that big here. Don't get me wrong, they are, but like...
I think they're bigger in the UK, though.
Yeah, they are, which is just weird. I don't get it. I'm trying to think if there's like a reverse version of that or something, and I'm like, no, it's like...
Like, do we love the Bill?
Yeah.
Like, people watch the Bill.
Yeah, so there was no like big Coronation Street thing or anything like that, so no, I got no idea. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like... I assume it's watched very ironically, yeah? Like... You know what? I'm actually pretty happy with that, so I'm just going to go straight on the next one and I'll do the feather and touch it up at another point. Bonk. Yeah, I'll copy him over too, why not? Even though his feather's wonky and stuff, but... he can get fixed up at a later point. This is my favourite bit where you just flip them and you're like, hey, look at that.
Look how much animation I just did.
As a compared to in the UK, they might look like a slice of heaven. You just have to walk outside. Yeah, alright. I guess. Oh, Prisoner. Wow. Damn. Is that really popular?
I don't even know what that is.
That's what it sounds like. With the hat, Haley. What do you reckon with the hat? Going front on.
Oh.
So obviously, squash the feather down and stuff like that. But I'm more thinking, what about the actual? Because, because I still want it to kind of look the same from the front. Like, I know it doesn't really make sense, but no.
Can you just maybe shrink it down 1 pixel? Like, yeah, and maybe even drop that top one. I reckon put a pixel
There.
up, and then delete the one on the side. Maybe that would work. Doesn't look great.
I'm kind of thinking of just keeping the curve almost the same in it.
That's kind of my hunch too. Just change the feather.
So look at age. I love it. Oh my god, this feather sucks. Look at this trash. I'll just redraw that. Oh, what did I do that for? I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Hey Pleb, thanks for joining us.
Pleb! Hello, Pleb.
And we're glad you like the Just Make Game series. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. I'm glad you can make the stream. Today, we're both doing a bit of pixel art, kind of glorified colouring in, because we're putting different, our different characters onto, like, the base sort of structure that we've got. So, a good example would be the one that everyone has seen so far, the soldier, that fella there. So basically doing all these animations for different outfits. It's kind of how you can think of it. So we've got that one done. And then there's that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and so on, and so on, and so on. So I'm currently up to this one here, and I'm about halfway in, and trying to make it not look terrible. Because a lot of these things we've designed sort of side on initially, because we've basically just done that frame. And things like this guy's little flick in his hat and his sweet feather don't really translate to walking straight ahead, and it kind of makes him look like he has a wizard hat now. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with this, if I just want to keep it with the side-on thing, which I probably am leaning towards, to be honest, because everything else is looking pretty terrible. But, yeah, glad you could join us. Yep, non-stop. Non-stop. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like that. Whoa, what is that? So, I am leaning towards keeping it more or less like this. Probably just changing the shape of the feather a little bit, but not much, to be honest. Because they're all stylized anyway. How low do we have this? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Actually, where's that really low, doesn't it? Oop. Nice one. Let's try it again. Yeah, so I'm just leaning towards kind of going like that with the feather and then just being like, yeah, done. and maybe evening out that part on his hat. Possibly, I don't know. Because yeah, doing any sort of flick in front of the actual, it's just gonna be terrible. Like that's pretty junk. So yeah, I'll stick it out there for the moment. I don't know. It's we're kind of like just almost like roughing it in right now, just so we can get these guys in the game, and then you know if we can tweak them later if we want to and things like that. So I'm trying not to overthink everything too much. Which is often easier said than done. Do we actually have hands visible on that when he runs there? I cannot remember. Yes, we do. Okay, good thing I checked. And now we've got the whole thing that I think, did you have it on the Hunter? Where... Oh no, you just left it on the right. I was going to say, did we do the wiggle with the buttons on someone?
Yes, I've been doing it on the majority of them. It's not on the Hunter?
No.
It should be on here.
Yeah, it's on the skull. Okay, yep, cool. I would have got 2 AM and got work at 6. Gonna have to bail here. I'll catch up on the rest tomorrow. Take care, you two. Have fun with the rest of the Steam chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. See ya.
Catch you later. You have a good one, alright? Tyler, out of curiosity, do you guys have Omni's game set up as a business or as a company at this point? It is just a sole trader at the moment, with Haley as an employee. So it is not a incorporated company or anything like that. That will happen one day, possibly, but the little extra bit of paying tax on top, compared to the effort of actually incorporating, wasn't really worth it to us, so... Right here first, right, left, okay. There we go. Beautiful. And should I just go straight down here with the coach? Let's try it.
That's what I've just been trying to work out too with my guy.
How are you planning to publish this game? That'll be going on Steam, like our last game, and probably other places like Itch.io and GOG if they want us, and so on and so forth. Possibly even the Epic Store if they want us.
Yeah, just see what's going on with
yeah, I
that,
don't even
what
know.
places are released.
At the moment, they're still in their sort of curated point. I have no strong feelings either way or another with Epic, apart from the fact I do enjoy a bigger cut. That's pretty cool. But I've kind of kept out of that whole debacle so far, so...
What do you reckon of this?
Oh, what do we got?
Does it look like it wiggles too much?
I think the coat should stay stable, but
Yeah.
the rest should wiggle.
Yeah.
So it's like the coat's always straight.
Yeah.
That's what I
Thanks.
reckon. what's everyone's opinion on the Epic Store? Because, to be fair, I haven't really kept up with what people generally think of it these days. Apart from some people I've seen absolutely hate it. I remember back in the day when everyone used to hate Steam. Does anyone else remember that? Steam, people used to be like, oh, it's on Steam? Oh, so I need to have like Steam DRM and a launcher? Oh, and now people are like, it's not on Steam? Ah! Which I find pretty hilarious. Nah, I wouldn't bother with DRM. I'm not a fan. So yeah, DRM free outside of anything like the Steam wrapper, but that's not really DRM to be honest. It's a DLL file that sits in a folder. So yeah, no DRM. It's not worth the effort and the aggravation, frankly. Although I must admit, I'm not a big fan of DRM in general, but I always find hilarious the sorts of DRM like Operation Flashpoint had one where it made the game actively harder if it detected it was a pirated copy. Stuff like that is hilarious to me. Except for when it doesn't work, because that actually happened to me. I had a legitimate copy of it, and because it didn't like my disc or whatever, the game made itself impossible to play. And the DRM sort of failed and inadvertently flagged me as like a pirate, that was sad, but I still think that's hilarious. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I'm glad to see some more competition. That's pretty much my feeling on it, to be fair. I like Steam and everything. I don't dislike Steam or anything like that. I think they do a pretty good job. A lot of indie developers out there are sort of kind of grumpy at Steam at the moment because a lot of traffic has been down and things like that, and to be fair, it goes up and down whenever they feel like it. It's not new, but I think it's a lot of people that have released in like the last month and they go, oh, the traffic's really bad right now, and I'm like, yeah, it was like 4 months ago too. That guy wobbles too. Okay, so he goes left, right. Does he do it on a different side to this one? Ah. Ha.
What have I done?
On the Scholar, we've got the buttons on the right, where right foot's forward. Mm-hmm. And then on the Inventor, it's on the left. So he's mirrored. I don't know which one looks better. Let's find out. Oh, well, yeah, don't even tell me about that Grand Prix event. That was beautiful. I enjoyed watching my wish list just go. They did mostly come back, sort of. Not really, but I didn't get hit as hard as some people did. Some people got demolished. Okay, so we've got that. Versus... I like that one more. Scholar.
So first frame is on the right.
Right.
What I've happened to have done on this one too. Go me. Alright, thank you. I'll remember to keep it on the right for the first frame. Because first frame right, and then it goes left, and then back to right.
No.
Red?
Right. I think right again. No, right, left, right. Are they all different? Oh, come on. Game development.
Don't know why I'm looking at your screen. I can just turn it on here.
Oh yeah, what are you doing?
Dang it.
I don't know, you watch through the ones that you've done and feel, pick which one you like the best. I think the Scholar's good because it looks like he's sort of, because it's opposite leg, basically. You know what I mean? So it's like,
it does match best.
it matches like it's like opposite of the, it goes with the arm, like when his arm goes forward, then it goes that way. Yeah, how was those wish list removals though? Like I saw some people on Twitter, and it's like they got absolutely stomped. You know, from like 10,000 wish list down to like 3-4,000 over the course of like a day. I'm like, jeez, well, that's gotta hurt. I mean, I think we lost a couple of hundred, which is nothing because we've got I think we've got about 9,000 wish lists sitting on there. So yeah, we didn't really lose anything. Probably not even really more than we typically would, I guess. Like, maybe a little bit. But yeah, that's gotta hurt. They always do this with these sort of, like, silly little event things, too. It's like, every time they have, like, a big sale, they do run some sort of event, and it never ends up, like, working how they intend it to, and then they sit there furiously, like, trying to fix it for the next couple of days. That's always a big media frenzy, and then everyone forgets about it for next time. I'm going to try this at that length. I'm not too sure if that's going to be too long or what. It kind of looks too long. You know what I've just remembered I've forgotten to do is the back of the coat. It's a good thing I'm only 2 frames in.
Yeah, that's what I forgot earlier, and I had to go back and put it in.
That is too long now that I think about it. The fun never stops. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. And that is higher, yes. I believe we're going 2 then 3, yes. I'm just looking at the length of the feet because they're not separate colours on our little guides, they're just part of the legs. But our shoes are always kind of 3 pixels long-ish. I'm not going to bother with that. Okay, 1 more to the right, and then we go left after this. In theory. That's in the wrong spot. So I want this to come lower now. Like that. Oops. Alright, and then we've got the back. Here we go.
Like, even the nice, easy jobs you get in game dev are sometimes not all that straightforward and easy. You're like, oh yeah, just some nice, relaxing pixel art.
Yeah. That's like, I just like changing what I'm doing constantly.
Yeah.
You do too much pixel art and you go crazy, and I feel like you do too much coding and I go absolutely nuts. Variety, spice of life, etc. Alright, so now we're over on the left. 1, 2, 3. Belt. Pants. I assume this is 2. No, it's 1. Okay. 1. Up on that side, and then this side will sit a little higher. There we go, and then fill in the colour behind and drop in his shirt, and almost another frame done. There we go, basically another frame done. Oh.
Yeah.
Do you set aside game design time, or does that happen while you're doing art code? Kind of happens in between, to be honest. Because we spent most of our early months doing that, and then designing up most of what we need. A lot of now our sort of refinement to design will come largely when we're sort of like not working, I suppose you'd say. Like we've finished for the day, in quote unquote, but then we kind of work out what needs to sort of adjust and change and things like that. So we don't tend to do it sort of on the clock, so to speak. Not so much anymore now that we've sort of done so much of it in advance, really. But like yeah, if it comes up, it's something that comes up and we need to solve it. Like basically just jump on it straight away, sort of thing, so it doesn't run away from us. I just missed out shading, didn't I? Yes, I did. Does that really go all the way down on these? It does. Strange. Because it doesn't... Oh, I suppose it does when it's standing, but it's always covered. I see. I see. And I assume I can't see feet here, but I will double check just in case. All good. Let's drop that coding in again. About there. And about there. Oops. How high did we go over here? We went one low. No, we didn't actually. We went on par with the leg. And then we went one lower. So we'll go.
Question here for you. What are your plans with the vision cones? Leaving them as is, or are you going to have them intersect with solid objects and walls?
Vision cones. We won't even have them. Yeah, no. Not even gonna have them. Yeah, we'll have a couple. There might be, like, I'm thinking there might be a special that lets you see them. in which case, yes, they'll intersect with walls and things like that. But it's just, at the moment, they sit really narrow, and it's just because I had a couple of problems early on with, they were triggering in weird ways, so I've basically just left them in and left them narrow so I can make sure that everything's okay. It is now, it's all sort of good, but eventually I'll just widen them up and then turn them off and give them the little, probably the little Metal Gear Solid bling when they see you and that sort of thing. But yeah, you can theoretically stealth your way around a bit, but you know, you're going to be seen pretty easily, is the idea. And yeah, I'm looking at vision cones going mad all over the place. Although I must admit they've quickly become in how the game looks, and that's because they've been around for so long. That's looking alright. It's getting there, sort of. Oh, unless you mean, are they going to actually have line of sight blocked by walls and objects? Which I just reread that, and that's what you might have meant. They do, but it's just not reflected on the cone properly. So if you're behind a wall and the cone sweeps past it, they don't actually see you. It's just the cone's just like this really loose guide, so I can just sort of see what's going on when I was testing their sort of actual vision. But yeah, the way it works, it checks outwards from them, sort of deal, so it gets intersected by various things. The only objects that really gets blocked by are the really big ones, though, and there's not many of them, so you don't really see it that often. That's only on the current level, it's only like those really big bookcases. Everything else, it's kind of assumed they look over the top. Anything breakable, they basically look over the top of, and most of our objects you can just roll through or smash up. Alright. Okay. It's been another hour, so it reckons that means another coffee. It seems to be how it works every single time. It's like 1 hour and then go off and have another coffee.
I've already switched to water.
Have you? Yeah, I'm still going. I'm going to have one more coffee, guys, and again, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'll just grab another coffee, and I'll be right back. We're back again. Hi. Hello, Lewis. Hey, people. Awesome art job. Thank you very much. Non-stop art.
Non-stop art fun and coffee.
And non-stop coffee. Let's do more frames. Woo! Just trying to keep myself excited here. It's hard to stay excited when you're on the 50th frame of this guy running around. Alright. At least these ones are nice and easy running towards the camera like this. Even though this guy is sort of more detailed than some of the other characters to a certain extent. He's got a bit more going on. He's got all these buttons and this bloody coat, which I thought was a good idea. It wasn't. It was very bad. Just kidding. It's fine. Whoop. Helps if you draw straight. There we go. I think this will end up looking pretty even. I think I'm sort of just quickly going bang, bang, bang straight through it, so let's see if it works. If it doesn't, then I'll go back later and fix them up, but it should be pretty good.
I'm on to my favourite bit again, the shoes. Nice and easy.
Shoes? Everyone loves doing shoes. What's everyone up to while they're watching / listening to this? I imagine quite a few are working on your own things at the moment. What sort of things are you working on? 'Cause I know quite a few people are working on game jams and things at the moment. I haven't done a game jam in so long. I feel like I should probably do one. Hello, Becca. How you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, I haven't done a game jam in years. Maybe we should look at doing something like that.
Yeah.
Chuck a double fine and do like an amnesia fortnight. We just kind of take 2 weeks off or something like that and make something. Potentially dangerous. You never actually go back to making your game. So it's like this one but reversed, is it not? Yes, it is. Just gonna get my coat to the right height here. I'm already lower. Why am I already lower? Oh, Michael, you've made a mistake here. SCP-066. SCP still going? I imagine it is. Man, I remember SCP. 066. You know what? I will. What is 066? 1 second. I'm totally not putting the song on. Oh, is this the one that's like made out of yarn? Or something? It's the weirdest thing, SCP. I wonder if that SCP game is still being developed. I remember that was like a open source sort of dealio that actually, for something that was So community run actually was getting pretty far. I was quite impressed. Prepping for a game jam on this weekend. Oh, what game jam are you doing? Is it actually like a big structured one, or is it a self-imposed one? I used to do quite a lot of self-imposed jams, but I've done very few actual structured ones. I think like only a handful, really. I feel like I really should do more.
You did one self-imposed one that I remember for that little horror game.
Yeah, and in the woods too.
Oh yeah.
Dive jam, water themed. Yeah, cool. Genetic evolution fish tank kind of thing. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Cool.
Problem with game jams is like I've gone in a bunch. I've gone, oh yeah, that's great. I'm gonna totally do something for this, and then you get your theme, and I'm just sitting there going, what? And that's happened like far more times than I can count. I'm just like, oh, I got nothing for that, and then I just don't do it. I guess I just gotta commit. But yeah, that's happened more times than I'd probably care to admit. Actually, I'm sort of all geared up to do one, and I just go, oh, I got nothing for that. I got no idea, and then that's it. Oh, it's only Geo, yeah, cool. Yeah, I like that there are so many now, though. Like, that's something that's actually really cool. Is like, there's just, if you want to do a game jam, there's one happening somewhere, and I quite like that. And you can kind of shop around for something that sort of suits. I do like the really sort of short time limit ones, though, that where it's like, here's your 24 hours, go, and you just end up with an absolute pile of junk that doesn't work properly at the end. I think you have the most fun when you're doing that sort of thing. Some of them are like, 2 weeks, a month, and I feel like that's far too long. Far too much effort.
48 hours is probably a pretty good...
Yeah, because then you got to quickly just kind of dodgy something up, and you're not doing it long enough to get bored of it. I think could be the key. SCP-999? What are you, SCP mad? Is there like an SCP resurgence going on at the moment I don't know about?
Is SPC the spooky?
Yeah, it's the community run, spooky junk thing. And that thing, like, SCP stuff was like super popular, like, I'm sort of thinking like 5 years ago.
I remember reading them.
Yeah.
Before we lived in Melbourne, so. Like around 2011, 2012.
Yeah, geez, that's actually a long time ago now.
Yeah.
IndieGameJam.com has loads listed. Yeah, it's like endless. Yeah, I reckon 48-hour jams are the way to go. I reckon that's a sweet spot. And it's sort of long enough to do something mildly creative. And it's short enough that you don't get bored of it, and you don't sort of end up wasting your time doing something that you're not going to actually use or take further or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it also means you don't feel compelled, like, actually fixing things that don't work. Well, like SCPs, I can tell.
I feel like game jams would be great too. Like if you're starting out and you just want to, you want to challenge.
I think they're a good way to learn a bunch, especially if you're doing something if you're either in person or you're on a Discord or something like that, with someone that's done something different to you, so you're sort of sharing a bit of knowledge around. Yeah. If you're taking on a bit of a role that you don't know much about, like you don't really know much about music, but you're like, I'm going to do the music for a game jam. I think that's a worthy endeavor.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd be inclined to do. Like, if I was doing some sort of game jam at the moment, I'd try to do something that I've basically never ever accomplished. Something pretty wacky. And just because it's like, well, that's, I think, the best things That's what they're for, really.
Mm.
About there. Oh, I just remember I just left off the back of these again. I know a lot about SCPs. Well, what is your favourite SCP, Becca? I imagine there's a million of them now. I swear there were only a couple of hundred not that long ago. There were a lot of empty numbers. Imagine they're all pretty full now.
Yeah.
But I better borrow your phone. Mine's just died.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. That's how long I've been streaming for now. I use my phone to watch the chat because it's just easier, and my phone just died. That tells you we've been going for a while. Alright, so let's touch this one up. Oh, excuse me. Forgotten a bit of leg there. There we go. Do we cycle okay now? Moment of truth. Obviously that hat and feather needs to be fixed up. You know what? That's actually alright.
That looks good.
That's pretty good. There's one or two bits that are a bit shonk, but that's okay. Running backwards as well. Oh my. Frames, I cannot get enough. Supremely weird with the hat facing the other way. No. Not sure how I feel about that. Okay, now how far back do we go with this? Now, on the inventor, do we see hands yet? No, only in the third frame. Okay. Stuff added to Minecraft. Yeah, I saw Notch was actually quite impressed with what's been added to Minecraft, which tells you a lot, considering he made the game and then sold it to Microsoft. If he's pretty happy with it, then I imagine it's probably a good choice. He seemed like he was quite impressed. do we have no hand visible here as well? We do. And there. Nope. But we do there.
That's another thing I like about Pixel Edit is how often it auto saves for you.
Yeah, that's a bonus, so you don't
Yeah.
absolutely bin yourself.
Yeah. And it like flashes up on the screen, so it's like, oh, I just auto saved. I'm like, oh yeah, I should really save that.
Not really my sort of thing, Becca, I must admit. I understand is very popular these days, though. But I think I might be a little bit old for that audience. Well, I'm saying that, one of my friends, I'm pretty sure, watches quite a bit of it, so... But no, not really my sort of thing. Now I have to decide what I want to do with anything with the back of his actual jacket here, because it ends up being obviously very dull looking.
Yeah, does he have a collar on it? Anything you can?
He's got that.
on the
He's
back?
got that blue collar, but yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna have to put something else there. At least it's nice having a nice simple frame to do, I must admit. It's Bill and doing those rolls. I'm considering perhaps we should do, because considering we do 2 live streams a month, maybe we should do them at different times to maximise the chance that people actually get to see one early, one late.
Yeah.
Sort of
that'd be
been
a good
considering
idea.
that. I'm not too sure. I have to have a look at the time zones again to see exactly if we do one late, who that's good for. I kind of feel like it's not for many,
Yeah.
but because it kind of, people that it's already late for now, it quickly becomes like, you know, 4 AM and things like that. But it might be worth looking at.
Instead of 11 p.m., you get 4 a.m.
Yeah, might be worth looking at though, because I know we've got a few people from, like, I think Russia and Ukraine and things like that, and I'm pretty sure it goes to 4 AM there at the moment, which is pretty rough. Hello.
Hello, how you going?
It's kind of average looking. That's alright. Let me fix that up. And then later on I can look at actually adding something so it looks kind of nice, as opposed to at the moment it looks very... Yeah, nearly 3 AM now. Yeah, see, that's it. Like, see, if we started later, then it's... And you're stuffed. Although, I don't know. Maybe we can start much later.
Yeah, maybe we can like start streaming when it's like evening here, bro.
Yeah, because... Yeah,
Have some dinner, do a stream.
yeah, we could do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, or might have to have a look, because it might end up being a bit bit more even then, and actually have something go on that, like that actually works. Yeah, gonna have to have a look at that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's no regrets as opposed to it's 4 AM here and I wish I didn't stay up to watch this junk. I think that needs to go high on the neck. Like that, there we go. Two, three, 1, 2, 3. That should be pretty even. Let's have a look and see how that collar's looking. Oh, apart from that jumping bit there, what is going on there? Let's get rid of that. Actually, it's alright. So obviously need shading and things like that because it's total junk right now. And it's like baby's first pixel art because it's just a big thing of red, but just kind of blocking it in, you know what I mean? Shading and things like that's pretty easy with this sort of thing because you just go straight to this color, give them a bit of a shadow under there because it's sitting on top, and then just start doing the sort of creases up the actual cape like that. That sort of general thing, and then make sure that moves in a sort of logical sort of place. But that's something that can come later because I just need to block everything first. Can you play Minecraft, please? I'm sorry, we're busy making a game, not playing them. I'm sure there's many people right now playing Minecraft though.
Yeah.
Be heaps of people playing it.
Always people playing Minecraft.
Never stops. It never stops. And speaking of, we're probably going to stop about now. It never stops except it stops now. So we're going for just under 4 hours now, and that seems to be on average with about how long we actually last. So we're just going to continue working, but just not doing it live.
Thanks for coming to watch us, though. It's been awesome having you.
Especially all of you who are watching at 3 and 4 a.m. in the morning.
Really appreciate it.
That's pretty crazy, to be honest. I don't think I'd have that sort of level of dedication, so good on you. Yeah, absolute champs.
Thank you.
I hope you have a very lovely sleep, all of you that are up late, and if you're up early like us, or now sort of getting into midday, hope you have a very pleasant day. We'll see you again in 2 weeks for another live stream, and then our video later in the month as well. I hope you're all well.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
See ya.